So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I do wanna say, if you have pillows, you don't have to have yoga blocks. I have a pile of props, but you may not have yoga blocks or a yoga bolster, but make sure you have like 2 pillows, maybe 2 books that you can like stack where they open, something like that, just so that we can get really comfy tonight. Maybe a blanket. If you already have that, that's great. I'm gonna check who else is joining. Okay. Maris said she had to run to the airport, so she wasn't gonna join tonight, but she had signed up. I'm gonna send her the recording. Did you guys have a good day? Is it nice there? Wherever you are, Potsdam and
kind of hot.
Yeah.
Very humid.
I went for a hike today, so that was fun.
Where did you hike?
It's called Allen Falls.
Okay. I feel like I've been there before.
So it was fun. I got in the water and fell a few times, so that was
That's fun. Nice. Yeah, it actually cleared up. It was really nice here. We wound up just doing chores all day, but yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, it looked like it was gonna pour and then it just kind of blew over.
I know. When they call for rain here, I really don't take it to heart because like this is the weather we keep getting. So, oh, it's gonna rain, whatever. Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. We're gonna start. The other people will hop on. I am gonna mute all of you so that there isn't like feedback or anything. And I'm gonna adjust the music here. I wanna make sure you can still hear me. Can you guys still hear me talking over the music? It's not like I'm screaming. Okay, that's the goal. Awesome. So we're gonna start tonight in Supta Baddha Konasana. So that is coming down to our backs, flat backs, and then the soles of the feet are gonna come together. Knees are splayed out in kind of like a diamond shape. Now there are a couple options here. Again, the theme of tonight's class is going to be getting comfy and getting comfortable, not necessarily finding a whole lot of discomfort and heat, but getting really comfy and letting gravity do a lot of the work. So maybe finding props beneath the thighs, blocks or books or pillows or something like that. Get really, really comfortable. The heels are touching, toes are together. And then the hands, I like to bring my hands to the bony parts of the hips, the palms there, and then rest the fingers down on my belly. It helps me connect with my breath. I can feel the belly rise and fall. If that's uncomfortable, you can bring the hands out by the sides, palms face up. And the neck is neutral, gazes towards the ceiling. We're gonna work into the hips tonight. My favorite, I'm biased towards the hips, but they're super important. We hold, especially as women, we hold so much of our emotion in our hips. So it's not uncommon to find a ton of emotion coming up when we work the hips. It might not happen, but if it does, don't be surprised. And if it does, acknowledge it, breathe through it, but don't get carried away with it. It's easier said than done, I know, but let that be the intention tonight, to breathe through it. So like I said, we're gonna be holding a little longer. So once we get still in the poses, it's gonna take a little bit of time to find where we're comfortable. We're gonna tap into that breath. Feel the belly rise and fall. Noticing every point of the breath, every point of the inhale, switching direction at the top and noticing every point of the exhale. Being present to each moment, in and out. It's important, especially when we're practicing and maybe finding sensation in the body that maybe we want to run away from. It's really important that we keep the exhale longer than the inhale, especially in yin. This will allow us to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system relaxation rather than that fight or flight tendency that we have when we meet discomfort or challenge or sensation in our body. So if you find yourself tonight wanting to run, come to your breath and maybe do a count. Maybe count inhale for 4 and exhale for 8. Trying to really slow down and lengthen that breath so that the body, we send the message to the body that everything is okay. We're here. We have its back.
I woke to a bitter scene, the whole world was crumbling. I cried to the guileless moon.
Notice if you're holding tension in the jaw or the eyes, little places that can be distracting from the purpose of the posture, the big idea. We work to simplify and get rid of excess so we can really get back to the basics. Each shape that we take.
To love, 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 love anyway. As dew drops and morning fell, the sun came and wished me well, and so I was on my way. I sat in the broken weeds and wove them into tapestries and watched as the remnants swayed.
Especially in yin. In all yoga, we have to be careful, but especially in yin, when we stay and move into vulnerability in our bodies. Beyond flexibility, we're moving into the fascia of the muscles. We're very vulnerable when we stay longer in these poses. So we want to be careful that through each transition, we're not just jolting out. We want to take each one very mindfully and slowly. So each time we go to transition, I'm going to ask you to just pause and think about what you're going to need to do to move out of this. Here in Sundar Konasana, I like to take my hands to the outsides of my thighs and gently help the legs towards each other, knees coming up. Be really sensational in the hip flexors. You don't want to just jolt it out. Slowly work your way, knees bent up, toes flat to your mat. Then we're just going to bring the hands beneath the hips. We're going to slowly rock up, coming into a seat. With our shoulders over our hips. So we're going to come into a butterfly pose now. So the feet are going to come into that same diamond shape, but the heels are a little closer to the hips. Shoulders are stacked over the hips. We're going to inhale that length through the crown of the head. So imagine someone pulling the head away from the sits bones. And then we're going to release over those legs, bringing the head forward, using the hands on the feet to anchor us down, and maybe the elbows are pressing into the inner thighs. We never want to press right on the knees. We want to keep those elbows on the sides, not pressing right on those joints. There are a couple of things you can do with your hands here. You can grab your ankles and anchor you down. You can grab your feet. You can also interlace the 3 fingers here, the pinky, ring, and middle finger, and then the pointer and thumb are up, you're kind of creating like a little pocket, and you can slip that around your toes. That can sometimes help to draw you down here. So a lot of times in typical vinyasa practice, we'll keep the spine long here and only go to where the range of motion is, where our back starts to bend. We're actually going to release over, finding a round in our back here, a rounding in our back. So the head falls. And we're bringing that forehead down towards the toes. The elbows on the inner thighs. You should feel something in your hips. I'm not going to say exactly what because it's going to be different for every person. Maybe you feel it in the low back, the back of the neck.
And if you ever choose a road that leads nowhere,
And we use that breath. That breath is our tool to move deeper. We inhale and we clear space, and we exhale, we move into that space. With each exhale, give yourself around just a little bit more here.
I'll sing you this song.
It can be very subtle. Each exhale bringing you maybe less than half a centimeter deeper. But each exhale, you should feel like you're falling a little closer towards it.
Come and change you. Don't let life break your heart.
Notice again if you're clenching, anything that can be let go. The jaw, the shoulders. It's not uncommon to crunch those shoulders up towards the ears. Try to relax those shoulders. Letting them melt away down the back towards the hips. Again, we're gonna acknowledge how long it's taken us to breathe into the shape that we're in. We don't want to just jolt right out of this. We're gonna think about inhaling, and on the exhale, coming out just a little bit. And then inhaling and exhaling, coming out just a little bit. Essentially coming out the exact way we breathe. Very slowly, very mindfully. Protecting that body. Not doing any harm as we come out. So you can come out as slowly as you would like. Eventually, those exhales will bring the shoulders back up to a point where we lift them the rest of the way to stack over the hips. We're not going to feel any strain in the neck as we go back. So protecting our bodies from any injury here. We're going to again take those hands to the outside of the thighs, bring the knees up. And we're going to work ourselves up and over onto the feet into a forward fold. We're not going to be here for super long. Just a moment. We're working our way over to the other side, knee down on the mat. Just let the head, neck, shoulders release here. Knees are bent. Notice my abdomen and my thighs are in contact. I don't care how much you have to bend your knees. I want you to do that so that the low back is supported here. You're not arching. You bend those knees. If your hamstrings are tight, that just means that you have to bend the knees a bit more. It really doesn't matter. Everyone differs every day on their mat. Shake the head, neck, shoulders. Release them. Let the weight of the head create a little bit of traction on the spine, away from the tailbone. It usually feels really good to do this because if you stop and think about it, 99% of the time throughout our day, gravity is pulling us the other direction. Front of the head, neck, shoulders, they're all going down towards the tailbone. Just go to switch it up. Should feel really good all along the back. We're going to slowly bend into those knees. Walk our hands out, just come down to your knees. We're going to work our way into a wide leg child's pose. So I'm going to walk myself back on my mat here. Knees come wide. And then my hips are going to press back into a child's pose. So my knees are about mat width distance. Hips come back towards the heels. And my hands are stretching forward. So I'm getting really long through the fingertips. And I'm essentially feeling like I'm long towards the hips and towards the fingertips. So as much length as I can get here. The forehead can come down to the mat. Feeling the third eye in contact, grounding down to the mat here. If you have any activation happening in the arm, let it go. Let the elbows just rest on the mat, biceps by the ears. The hips here, as we exhale, draw deeper and deeper towards the heels. So there's always a line of energy that the breath carries us through in each pose. It's fun to think about from pose to pose how it changes, but here we're inhaling long, getting long through the fingertips, getting long through the crown of the head, but then as we exhale, those hips are sinking back towards the heels. That's where the breath is carrying us here in our wide leg child's pose. Imagine the weight of someone's hands or a heavy block or something coming to the very, very low back and pressing those hips, that low back. So it's one of my favorite assists to bring into my classes. It feels so good to lengthen that front, raise around the head. Acknowledge if the mind is wandering, if it's having trouble staying present. It's natural and happens to everyone. But it's important that no matter how many times we find it straying off, thinking about what we have to do, what we didn't do, what happened earlier today, what's going to happen later on. It's so important that no matter how often you find that happening, you just gently bring it back to the breath. Gently bring it back to counting. Inhale 4 and exhale 8. It's easy to get frustrated and sometimes even defiant that you can't believe that you did it again. The more you practice bringing back to that breath, the easier it's going to get. We're going to take a couple more breaths here. and as deep as we can into this wide-legged child's pose.
Lying isn't better than silence. Floating.
And then slowly we're gonna work our way out of it. Again, don't just jolt yourself up. We'll work together to come out and move towards the next posture, but we're gonna start just by kind of like kneading our hands into the mat. Getting some movement into our body again, gently. Kind of like a cat does on your blanket, on your lap, when you're sitting on the couch. Just kind of knead those hands gently into the mat. That's going to activate through the arms, through the obliques. And then we're going to slowly ground those hands down and imagine a string connected to the middle vertebrae of the back. Someone is pulling that string. The tailbone and the crown of the head are just draping away from that middle vertebrae where the string is attached. We're kind of coming through a wide leg cat position here. The spine is reaching up towards the ceiling, head and tailbone fall. Now we're going to come through a neutral table. We're going to bring those knees back towards center. And we're going to work our way all the way down to our belly. So the feet are out long behind us. We're going to tent. We're going to pillow the forehead with our hands. So clasp the fingers together and create like a little pillow here. And rest the forehead down onto the fingers. We'll take a little low back release here before we come into our next hold. Bend those knees, both of the feet towards the ceiling, and wag those legs left and right. Very gentle movement, but it should feel like a nice release in the low back. The soles of the feet will come back towards the ceiling, lower the feet all the way down. We're going to start with this right leg, so staying on our tummy. All we're going to do is bring this right knee directly out from the right hip. Keep it drawn out so that we're not like lifting that right hip. We want the tummy and those hips down, chest down, forehead on the fingers. All we changed is that this right leg is out in a 90-degree angle from the right hip. This one doesn't often bring a whole lot of sensation for people. If you have sensation, that's okay. It just means that you're super tight in your hips. But that is why we're doing it. We're working on it. So I want you to imagine someone gently pressing their hand just above your right butt cheek, like on your low back, kind of like on your hip bone there. They're gently pressing that hip down towards the mat. So that eventually the left and the right hip are equal on the mat again. They might not be, they might not come there tonight or next week or next month, but that's the idea here. Notice if you're clenching that left leg, there should be no tension in the low body. We changed up the position, but we're still relaxed, letting gravity do the work here. Allowing our breath to help, but we're not holding ourselves up in any way. What is any of it worth? You find yourself looking up at night from the bottom of the earth. No, can this world not afford to sleep anymore? And oh, did
Did your sheep start jumping? They grow out their teeth? Did they need a little something more than this? The taste of trouble on your lips, 'cause now they're biting at your thoughts.
Check in with your thoughts.
Tell yourself just to turn
If you
away.
wandered, bring them back to
You
the
know
breath.
you've already lost.
Counting 4 on the inhale,
The smell of rainbow
on
and
8
song
on the exhale, letting the body know that you're okay.
never be paid in full. You try in vain to account for this mess and everything that you stole.
We're always told to reduce stress, limit stress.
Can this world
I laugh at that so much sometimes because it's almost inevitable, I feel like, in so many walks of life to
Did your sheep
face
stop
stress
jumping?
day in and day out. Whether you work full time or you're a student full time or whatever you are full time, there's stress that you're going to meet. And it's challenging to imagine eliminating something. In truth, the breath is inhaling 4 and exhaling 8 is one of the simplest ways to reduce stress because it tells the body that it's okay. You can do it anywhere, anytime, and the message will be sent.
So what is keeping you here? No, can this world not afford?
We're going to slowly work that right foot down towards the left. Moving very slowly out of the calf frog, bringing the legs long, and maybe just kind of press into the knees, lifting the hips off of the mat slightly, and just kind of wiggle those hips left and right, getting a release here. Kind of shaking the butt left and right. We're going to move right onto the left side. So we're going to bring that left knee up to the left side. The left knee is straight out from the left hip. The left knee is bent at 90 degrees. That ankle is right straight down from the knee. Essentially, that shin is parallel with the right thigh. Now you might notice that this hip, the left hip, is lifted a little bit more, or it's a little bit more flexible. There might be more mobility there. Kind of notice side to side if there's a difference. I always think that's fascinating to do, to see where our strengths and weaknesses are in our body. But again, make sure that that right leg is released. No tension held in any of the limbs or body parts. We're fully supported by the mat beneath us, the ground beneath us. And as we exhale, that left hip slowly drops lower and lower towards the mat. The actual drop might be an idea. You might not actually be moving that left hip closer to the mat. But every exhale, imagine a slight adjustment, moving closer to the mat. And eventually the breath will carry you into an actual movement.
Good gracious, you're a heart attack. We were something like a movie. She was more of a show.
Spread roots wide in the back of my eyes, and
She never let it slow. I had my hand full of aces, ran her fingers down the back of my neck. I stepped back when she laid down that jack. I was losing breath.
Bring attention to the breath. No matter where the mind might have wandered, if it stayed, that's awesome. If it wandered, that's awesome too. But bring it back. Don't be hard on yourself, no matter where you are. The whole point of a yoga practice is to meet yourself where you are. Releasing expectation of where you think you should be and simply just being where you are.
Good gracious, you're a heart attack.
Imagine that gentle touch just on your low back, pressing that left hip down, equal to the right. And then we'll slowly begin to work ourselves back out. Legs outstretched, long behind us. Left comes to meet the right. We're coming in just into like a pencil laying on the mat. Again, press into those knees and just lift those hips gently and shake them left and right, releasing. We're gonna bring our hands beneath our shoulders, armpit area. Stay on the knees, but press the chest up and back. We're gonna come into our next pose. We did half frog on either side. We're gonna now do a full frog. So I'm not sure what kind of floor you guys are all on, but I have a carpet, so that makes it easier. If you have wood floor, I advise getting like 2 blankets or 2 pillows or something just to pad the inner thighs. It might be pretty tough on the inner knees if you don't have anything under. Another option is to kind of roll over the long edge of your mat to double it up, and you can put your knees there. So I will demonstrate frog. Essentially, we're going to be bringing our knees wide, kind of like we just did. So we had half and half at one point, but we're bringing the left knee out from the left hip like we did, and the right knee out from the right hip like we did. And then we're gonna bring our chest parallel to the floor, so we're coming onto our forearms. Now this might be super loud, and you might not be able to come onto the forearms. Maybe you have to stand on your palms. I want you to keep those hips in line with the knees. I don't want the hips coming way forward. I want them to be right in line with the knees. And then come to wherever you need to with your arms. And we're breathing, getting a stretched knee, adductors here, the inner thighs. So those ankles are kicked straight down from your knees. And we want a really long flat spine. So just scoot those knees back a little bit. Maybe double over the mat. Is it tough on the inner knees? Is it bugging you? No, kinda. Try to like double over the mat, like just roll it up. Yeah, and put the knees on that. Wide, there you go. And then get long in the spine so that there isn't a curve happening in the spine. Yeah. Does that work better? Yeah, okay. So bring those hips in between the knees. So come up, stack the hips on top of the knees, right in line. There you go. And then as you come forward, you're really gonna feel that ignite in the inner thigh. Yeah, everyone's shaking their head. It's there. Yes. So if it's too deep and you're like, man, I just can't do this, don't go as deep. Come out a little bit. You wanna make sure that you can hold this for some time. Remember, yin is being patient and not necessarily going to our edge right away and suffering through it. We want to go somewhere that we can hold and maintain. So it's going to take a little bit of fidgeting to get into this one, to somewhere where we can breathe. But once we find that, this one, I find that people like it better if I give them a certain amount of time that we're holding it, because it tends to be super intense. So we're going to take 10 rounds of that breath that we're counting 4 and exhaling 8. So I'll count a couple rounds with you. So we're inhaling 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe you feel those knees dropping open a little bit more. Maybe it's just you're loud and you're like, man, I can't take this anymore. Whatever it is you're feeling, try to breathe through it. Count 3 rounds of breath together. Count about 4 to 5 more on your own. Inhaling 4, exhaling 8. Check, yeah. Maya, it looks like you found an intense variation. I love it.
Love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in
Couple more breaths. And again, because this one is so sensational, that means that there's a lot of vulnerability happening here. So we don't want to just jolt out of it. We want to slowly bring our hands back beneath our shoulders if they were down in our forearms. And then we slowly work our way forward with our hips towards our hands so that we can bring those feet back together and just kind of come back. Take whatever counter you need to work out from that one. That one can be really intense. It's important we take it properly aligned so that we're not doing damage in our body. But you all looked good. Okay, so now we're going to come towards doing dragon, which is actually, it has 2 names. In real life, or in vinyasa, it's called lizard, but in yin, it's called dragon. So we're bringing this right foot up towards our right shoulder in kind of a lunge, but we're bringing that right foot wide towards the edge of our right mat. So essentially, if my hands are down, both of my hands are on the inside of my right leg. Yeah. So we're going to start here with both hands beneath the shoulders. You should feel this in the right hip, maybe even in the front of that left hip, depending on how deep we're going. But we're going to rest here. Maybe if you're super open and you can find space to come down to your forearms, play with that. But don't come there if you can't breathe. If you're leaving the breath behind, come back out. I want you to be able to breathe where you go. There's no competition. It's only what your body is ready for and is up for tonight. Super important that you acknowledge that. So that right knee is stacked right over that right ankle. That knee isn't forward of your ankle. It's stacked right on top. And here, the breath The energy, the direction that it flows is inhaling through the crown of the head, getting long in the spine, and exhaling. Those hips are dropping forward and down with the front edge of our mat. So they're not just drilling straight down through the lower back. We're gradually decreasing distance between hips and the front edge of the mat.
But it's time to let it go. Put it to rest. You were just what I need, but it's time to let it go. Put it to rest.
Notice if your breath has kind of gotten short here or shallow. Sometimes it's enough to just work at lengthening that breath rather than going deeper in the pose. Just finding a way to bring that breath back to length, calm. So the body isn't stressed or thinking that it needs to be.
Darling, I love you. Darling, I love you. You know that it's true. Don't leave me here out on my own.
We're going to take a couple more breaths here in our traditional dragon with the hands or forearms and the shoulders.
I just wanna be a part of your home.
And then we're going to move towards an option. This is an option. So if you don't have this and it's not a possibility for your hips tonight, just stay right here. You can stay in this dragon. But you can bring that right hand, that left hand stays down, but that right hand comes to the top of that thigh. You're kind of twisting open with those shoulders towards the right side, and you're not pressing right on that knee. Again, we want to be careful of that joint. We're pressing with that hand on the thigh. We're bringing that leg away from the hip. So imagine it kind of drawing right out of that knee, forward to the right, and then we're opening that leg slightly, coming onto the outer sole of that right foot. I don't want you to pop that knee. We have to be really gentle in how we're doing this opening here. That usually ignites a little bit more sensation in that left hip. Sometimes people come here and they're like, oh, I have a whole lot more room, and they can just bend that left leg back up. If you want to take that, you can, but don't do that if that's just like, you can't breathe. I don't want people to leave the breath behind here. I'm just adding a little bit of opening by gently pressing into this right leg. I've seen people just press this right leg out onto the floor. I'm like, man, you're hypermobile. I don't have that yet. Crazy. So we're gonna slowly release. That one's pretty intense, so we won't hold it as long. We're gonna slowly release, bring that right hand down to the mat. Bring that right foot back flat to the mat. So the sole of the foot is down, the right knee is right on top of the heel. We're gonna tuck the back left toes. We're gonna press that left heel away to lift the back knee. We're just gonna straighten, pressing into that right heel. We're straightening through that right leg. You might not straighten all the way, but keep those hands on the mat, either palms to the mat or fingertips tented on the mat. You're staying high on the back left toes, so the heel is stacked right on top of the left toes. You're getting a foot stretch there, also a quad or a hamstring stretch on the back of that right leg. We're gonna take a couple bends here, so bend into that right leg, come back to that low lunge with that back knee lifted. And then press into that right heel, lift the hips up and back, straighten into that right leg, get a stretch in the back of that right leg. Take one more, bend into that right knee. And then straighten. We're gonna ground those hands down. We're gonna step that right foot back, come to our down dog. Walk out those feet. We're bending the knees here in our down dog. We want the tummy and the thighs to connect. That's going to help bring the hips up and back and create length from the fingertips up to the hips. So bending those knees. Nice. So we're going to move right into the other side for our dragon. We're going to shift the gaze towards the front of the mat. We're going to slowly step that left foot to the outside of that left hand. Lower that right knee down, coming to the other side. Moving very mindfully and slowly here. So again, I want you to make sure that that left knee is stacked right on top of the left ankle. That knee isn't jutting beyond the ankle, stacked right on top. Then the hands come down beneath the shoulders, and we settle into our dragon. Oftentimes we find ourselves crunched over here with the head dropping, the shoulders rounding in. Try to open up. Imagine someone pulling that heart center forward as if you had like a necklace on or something, and they're pulling right out of your heart, pulling it forward. You want to try to open those shoulders. It's really tough in poses like this where we're kind of all tangled up like a pretzel, but we want to try to open that heart center forward. And again, the inhale lengthens through the crown of the head, long line in the spine. And then we exhale, those hips are drawing forward and down towards the front edge of the mat. Again, we're doing side to side, so notice if you notice anything different here. You might feel one side is completely tighter than the other. You might not notice a difference at all. If you don't, that's fine. There's no requirement to feel a difference or sense greater flexibility on one side or the other. But if you do, it's just important to notice. This one I often find myself easily pivoting, rocking back and forth, adjusting my hands. It's a real challenge to just close my eyes, sit with myself, and be still here. One of the most challenging ones for me. Nevertheless, we have to try. We have to try to do the things that are difficult. The more we try at them, the more we do them, kind of connected with that breath for a few minutes. So touch back. Gotta inhale 4 and exhale 8, a couple rounds. Reminding the body that the sensation is okay. We're safeguarding it, we're watching over it, we're not gonna let it go too far. And then we're going to slowly transition towards the option of opening up with that left hand on the upper thigh. So keep that right hand down. If you choose to take this, we'll lift that left hand up and bring it again to the top of that left thigh. Imagine just someone grabbing that thigh and pulling it away from your hip over to the left side. And then gently you're opening that left leg so you're coming onto the outer edge of that left foot. It's very gentle. It might not go whole ways, but it's an option to help open up those hips a little bit more. Breathe through it. Breathe through that sensation that you find rather than running away from it. I like to say this to my students. So in life, there are things that you shouldn't breathe through. There are situations that aren't okay, and you need to remove yourself from them if they're dangerous to you. But on your mat, if you find discomfort, you can breathe through this. You're in a safe space on your mat. We're together and we're practicing yoga. So when you find discomfort, as long as it's not pain, pain is separate and you feel all pain. But when you find discomfort and you want to run away from it, you can sit and breathe through it and come out the other side because we're in a safe space. I like to equate a lot of things to off the mat, on and off the mat. If you practice it on the mat, you can do it off the mat, but I'm not endorsing putting up with things in life that aren't okay. I just want to make myself clear there. When I say breathe through it, I say that because we're here together and we're safe. It's an okay space to do that in. Can't do that everywhere though. So we're going to slowly release that left hand back down to the mat. Let the sole of that left foot come down. The left knee is stacked right over the left ankle. We're going to tuck the back toes. There's a lot of sensation happening in that right hip, so we're going to release gently. We're going to press that heel away to lift the back knee. And then we're grounding down under that left heel. We're straightening into that left leg, taking the weight out of that right hip. You're staying high on the back toes. That heel is stacked on top of the toes of the right foot. Fingertips content or palms of the hands stay down depending on how open the left hamstring is, but you should feel a stretch in the back of the left leg here. We're going to bend into that left knee. Stack that left knee on top of the left ankle again. Low lunge. Then come back. Stack the back heel on top of the back toes. Get a foot stretch straight into the left knee. And bend that left knee. Last time. Low lunge. And then press into that left heel, that left foot, straighten into the left leg. And then we're going to adjust, maybe bend that left knee a little bit if you have to. Place the palms down and step that left foot back to meet the right in our down dog. Walk it out. Pad one heel down, lift the other, then press that other heel down and lift the opposite. Move back and forth here. Find some movement that feels really, really good. We're going to shift that gaze towards the front of the mat. We're going to step that left foot to the outside of the left hand, right foot to the outside of the right hand, and work our way down onto our hips, again on our mats. We're going to take our soles of our feet flat down to the mat, knees are bent up, and we're going to rock slowly all the way down, bringing the knees with us in our hands, tucking the knees to the chest and then opening them wide, taking some circles here. So tuck them in, open them out. And in and open them out. We're going to take a twist, a full spinal twist for our last hold here in yin. It's one of my favorites. It's just so delicious. So we're going to let the right leg fall all the way out. The left leg stays in with our hands clasped on top of that left shin. Imagine inhale, drawing that knee towards the chin. And then we're going to take the right hand to the outside of that left knee. We're going to draw it over the right body, coming into a twist on our mats. Now I want you to notice if that left shoulder peels up off of the mat. If it does, I want you to bring it back down. It might mean that left leg doesn't cross as much. But start there, and then eventually you'll notice that left leg dips a little farther over to the right side, but that shoulder stays on the mat. You should feel this in the glute, the hip, maybe even the QL, the low back of the left side. There's so much happening in the area that we're stretching that there's lots of possibilities in where you might feel it. If you want a little bit more here, you can drop the gaze over to the left hand, even getting a stretch, a twist in the cervical spine, the neck. In yoga, we bring up a lot, no matter what type of yoga we're doing. So in doing hips, we bring up a lot of emotion, a lot of sensation. In vinyasa, we bring up a lot of heat, a lot of energy. Finishing off with a twist like this helps detoxify. Twists are very detoxifying and they help release, flush out. They leave you with a sense of feeling rejuvenated, refreshed. That is also the goal here. Not moving a single thing. I want you to just bend that left knee so that those left toes tap the right knee, keeping everything else where it is. With those toes tapping the right knee, we're gonna slowly spin back to a flat back, bringing ourselves flat to the mat, and then hug that left knee in, hug that right knee in. And we do that to release any excess weight in the low back. We don't want to dump anything there when we twist up. So we bend the knee to protect the low back. We're going to extend the left leg out. We're going to take the same thing on the other side. So we inhale, clasp the hands on the top of that right shin, draw the knee towards the chin, finding a bit of compression in that right hip. And then we're going to cross that left hand over to the outside of the right knee and draw that knee over the left body. The right shoulder flattens down to the mat. The right hand comes out straight from the right shoulder. And if you feel that right shoulder peeling up, bring it back and then encourage that leg over with the left hand. Identify where you're feeling the stretch. Maybe you don't know the name of the point of the body. That's okay. When I say identify, just bring awareness to where the most sensation is when you're here. And then again, the last chance in our holds, our asana holds, our postures. Notice the breath and make sure that we're inhaling 4 and exhaling 8. Maybe we don't have to count, but just sense that that exhale is longer than the inhale. And then again, we're gonna bend just at that right knee. moving nothing else. We're gonna bring those right toes towards the left knee and rock ourselves back up to a flat back after we've taken the weight out of the low back. So hug that right knee in with the right hand, left knee in with the left hand. We're gonna take one final feel good self-massage here. So we're gonna hug those knees in towards the chest, really, really hug them in. Then I want you to release the knees away from the chest just as far as it takes to bring the low back down to the mat. So when the knees are tucked really close into the chest, the low back peels up. And then when you let them go just a little bit, hands are still on the knees, but you feel the low back come back in contact with the mat. We're gonna take some rocks left and right here. This is a really, really nice feel good on the low back. It's one of my favorites to take. So take a couple rocks here. I almost feel like every time the opposite hip comes down, I'm able to like lengthen through that spine. It feels really, really good. After this little rock here, we're gonna work our way towards a Shavasana. Now, this was a yin practice, so we didn't do a ton of heating poses. We actually took a very few amount of poses. So if there's something that you really feel like you need in your body right now, feel free to take that. You have some time. If you're all set and you're ready to come into corpse pose, Shavasana, extend those legs long, hands out by your sides, palms face up. Draw those shoulders down the back. Get really long in the spine. We're gonna release movement. We're releasing sensation. We're releasing any breath work that we had going on. And we're just existing on our mat. Don't change the breath. Don't control it, just let it happen. And allow your body to digest and download everything that we just did for it. I want you to imagine a comb, combing from the crown of the head all the way down to your toes. That comb moves through the face and picks up any tension, like any knot in your hair. When you comb out your hair, we're combing through the body and working out those knots, tangling. We're releasing any excess and bring it back to just the basics, just the necessities.
And life is nothing like we pictured it. Who are we to blame ourselves for moving on? Yelling at the sky, screaming at the world. Baby, why'd you go away? I'm still your girl.
After you've taken that body scan, moving from head to toe, notice how you feel.
How do I love again?
always feel like life is so much more simple once I come to Shavasana. Like everything that I was worried about, all the aches and pains I was worried about or felt through, I released in my practice. Life just seems that much more simple. And I get it. We're going to keep our eyes closed. I encourage you to keep them closed until we close out practice. I'll guide you, but I promise you won't run into a wall or anything. We're going to tuck ourselves into a fetal position on the right side. So pillow your head with that right arm. Knees tuck into the chest. Eyes closed. Feel the simplicity of this moment. Continue to breathe, but not controlling the breath. Again, keeping the eyes closed, we're going to place that left palm down on the mat and press up. Come to an easy seat, eyes are closed. It doesn't matter if you're even or centered on the mat, just come to an easy seat. I want you to use your sense of where you are in your body, bringing the shoulders stacked over the hips, hands to the knees. Rather than using the eyes to adjust, I want you to use your intuition, that you feel with your eyes closed. Vertebrae are stacked. We will bring our hands to our center. We're going to take one communal breath to close out our practice. So take an exhale, get rid of any stale energy, breath that's been sitting from our practice. Then we're going to take an inhale through the nose. And take a long exhale through the mouth, letting it all go. Thank you so much for practicing with me, letting me guide you tonight. Look forward to the fire. Namaste. Thank you, and I hope that I get to practice with all of you soon. I also hope that you have a great week. We took some funky poses, so I know some of you, hi Lauren, I didn't get to say hi earlier. I know some of you, this was your first yin, so, oh no, I don't want to unmute. How to unmute? Mute. Okay. If you have any questions on any of the poses, since I know it was your first yin class for some of you, let me know. I'm always here to answer questions, but do everyone's hips feel more open? Yes. Good. Good, good. That's the goal. All right, well, have a good night, everyone, and yeah, hope you have a good week.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.